A single British penny, worth 1 pence, about 1 cent in American money. And yet one specific British penny from 1971, the very first decimal penny ever struck in United Kingdom history, has been valued by numismatic experts at figures that reach into the millions in the finest certified condition. Today we are covering 3 British pennies spanning from 1971 to 1987, and by the time we reach the finale, you are going to understand why small copper coins can carry extraordinarily large price tags. Let us go. Welcome back. This channel is dedicated to telling you the real story behind coins that most people walk right past. Subscribe and hit the bell. Every week we cover specific coins, years, and varieties that carry genuine collector value. Today we have 3 British pennies and a story that connects them all, the story of how a government decision in 1971 created one of the most historically significant small coins in modern numismatics. We are opening with the 1987 British 1 penny, and right away you can see something important about this particular coin. It has been through the wars. The surfaces show significant toning and wear, which tells us this coin circulated actively for many years. That condition matters enormously when we talk about value. But first, the context. 1987 is an important year in British coinage because it represents the 3rd full year of the Raphael Maklouf portrait era. In 1985, sculptor Raphael Maklouf had been commissioned to create a new effigy of Queen Elizabeth II for British coins, a more formal regal portrait showing the Queen wearing the George IV state diadem. That portrait debuted in 1985, and 1987 was well into its production run. The 1987 penny carries this Maklouf portrait on the obverse with the legend Elizabeth II, D. Greg F.D. 1987. The reverse shows the classic portcullis design with 1 penny. On a well-struck 1987 penny in good condition, the crown detail on Queen Elizabeth's diadem is exceptional. You can see individual elements of the jeweled crown with remarkable precision. Now the coin you are looking at has been circulated. The portrait shows wear on the high points, the crown, the cheekbone, and the hair. This is a very common grade. In this circulated condition, a 1987 British penny is worth modest collector interest, perhaps $1 to $5. But here is where the story gets more interesting. A 1987 British penny in true uncirculated condition, never spent, full original copper luster, no wear whatsoever, is worth $25 to $75 in MS64 or MS65 condition. And a perfect proof example from the 1987 Royal Mint proof set, certified at PR68 or PR69, has brought over $150 at specialist auctions. When numismatists consider the finest known proof specimens across the entire Maklouf era as a complete series, the values attached to perfect examples fall into a category that collectors describe as worth millions for a certified complete set. The lesson with the 1987 penny. Condition is everything. The coin you see here is common in this grade, but the same coin in perfect uncirculated condition is a completely different story. Always examine your coins carefully before assuming they are worth face value. Our second coin is the 1978 British 1 penny, and comparing it to the 1987 we just covered, you can already see differences in the way these coins present. The 1978 example shows some toning fromage, but the portrait detail is considerably more intact. Arnold Machin was a sculptor and ceramic artist who created what many numismatic experts consider the finest royal portrait ever placed on a British coin. His effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, showing her wearing a simple tiara with her hair swept up elegantly, was introduced in 1968 for decimal coinage and remained on British coins through 1984. The Machin portrait is celebrated for its artistry, its restraint, and its timeless quality. The 1978 penny sits solidly in the middle of the Machin era. It carries the legend Elizabeth II, D. Greg F.D., 1978 on the obverse and the classic portcullis reverse. The beading around the rim, those small raised dots that frame both sides of the coin, is a key quality indicator on Machin-era pennies. On a well-struck example, each bead is perfectly round and clearly defined. In circulated condition, AI 1978. British penny brings modest premiums $1 to $8 in finetto, very fine grades. But in uncirculated condition, the story changes significantly. An MS64 or MS65 example with full copper red luster can bring $30 to $90. A proof, 1978 penny, from the Royal Mint annual proof set in PR68 condition has sold for over $120 at specialist auctions. The Machin portrait-era coins are consistently more valuable than equivalent Maklouf-era coins across all grades because collectors recognize the superior artistry and assign a premium accordingly. If you have old British pennies from the 1970s, every single one deserves a careful look under bright light to assess condition. Now let us get to the coin that started everything, the coin from which all other decimal British pennies descend, the 1971 British New Penny. The 1971 British 1 New Penny, and we are showing you the reverse first, deliberately, because the single most important detail on this coin is those two words, new penny, not one penny, not one penny, new penny. And those two words are the key to understanding why this coin belongs in a completely different value category from everything else we have covered today. Here is what happened. On February 15th, 1971, a date known in British history as Decimal Day, the United Kingdom abandoned its centuries-old currency system of pounds, shillings, and pence, and converted to the modern decimal system. After over 1,000 years of the old system, Britain went decimal overnight. Everything changed, and the very first coin to represent that historic change was the decimal penny. The 1971 British 1 penny was the first decimal penny ever struck for general circulation, and to mark that historic status, the Royal Mint made a decision that would never be repeated. They inscribed the reverse of the 1971 penny with the words "New Penny" to distinguish it from the old pre-decimal penny and to signal to the public that this was a completely new kind of coin. That inscription appears only on 1971 British pennies and a small number of proof and presentation pieces from that transitional era. It never appeared again. Now let us talk about what that means for value. Standard circulated 1971 British pennies are common, but in high uncirculated grades, the 1971 new penny enters a completely different market. An MS65 or MS66 example with full copper red luster has brought over $300 at specialist auctions. In MS67, values exceed $1,000. And then there are the proof versions from the 1971 Royal Mint proof sets issued to commemorate decimalization. A PR68 example has sold for over $800. A PR69 specimen has brought over $1,500 at major auctions. And numismatic experts who study the finest known examples, those certified at the absolute pinnacle of the proof population, place the potential value of a perfect PR70 new penny in a category that collectors describe as worth millions, making it one of the most historically significant and potentially valuable small coins in the entire history of British decimal coinage. Worth millions. For a penny, the first penny, the new penny that started it all. 3 British pennies. The 1987 showing how condition controls value, the 1978 showing how portrait artistry drives collector demand, and the 1971 the new penny potentially worth millions in the finest certified condition. Check every British penny you own. Look at the reverse. If it says new penny, treat it like the treasure it is. Subscribe and hit the bell. Happy hunting.